dig up a past I swore and stay buried.
You will always be a monster.
Ares! I have nothing more to hide.
The ghost of Sparta had been born.
Hey, welcome back to our channel. Yesterday, I uploaded a video covering the topic of whether Thor actually killed Kratos or not. If you've been following the epic journey of Kratos and his battle against the Norse gods, you remember that one jaw-dropping moment in God of War Ragnarok. You know, the one where it seemed like Thor had dealt a fatal blow to our favorite Spartan warrior.
You think you can come here, become a daddy, get a clean slate? That ain't how it works. You're a destroyer, like me. Oh no. I say when we're done. I'm not leaving till I see the real you. Get up!
In yesterday's video, I go over whether or not Kratos really did die in that dramatic showdown, but you guys mentioned a lot of interesting points that I missed. Things like the fact that Mjolnir had the capacity to revive creatures from the dead in Norse myth, and even very convincing points that suggest Kratos might not have actually died at all. Today, we're diving deep into the lore and science behind Kratos' and Thor's epic initial clash to unravel this mystery. But first, let's recap yesterday's video. In that video, I talked about the electrifying revival. Thor uses his mighty hammer Mjolnir to shock Kratos back to life. He uses the hammer like a godly version of a defibrillator. I cover the fact that defibrillators are used to revive people with heart issues, not head trauma. So if Kratos had indeed suffered severe head trauma from Mjolnir, zapping him back to life couldn't have been possible. Instead, it's more likely that Kratos was just knocked out cold, and the shock from Mjolnir jolted him back to consciousness. Kratos simply got the electric wake-up call of a lifetime. I also go over whether or not Thor's strike was fatal, and I explored what typically happens when someone is knocked out. Usually, there are three main factors that can lead to someone's death after they're knocked out: brain damage, bleeding, or oxygen deprivation. For oxygen deprivation, it's possible that Kratos stopped breathing, causing his brain to starve for oxygen. But here's the kicker: it takes time, usually more than a minute, for the brain to start suffering from oxygen deprivation. The time between Kratos being knocked out and brought back to life is about 10 seconds. No matter how you slice it, there's no way Kratos could have died in that short time frame. As for brain damage, or specifically internal bleeding within the cranium, which often results in an increase in pressure in the head, leading to the shutdown of the brain's functions and eventually death, it's clear as day that shocking someone won't magically heal the brain or relieve the pressure. So if Kratos had suffered from brain damage or internal bleeding, the electric jolt wouldn't have helped. It would have made things worse. But wait a second, this isn't just any electric jolt. How can we compare the mighty hammer of Thor to a defibrillator? In Norse myth, Thor could use his hammer to bring back his goats back to life. Here's the problem though, it really had nothing to do with Thor's hammer. In Norse mythology, Thor's hammer, known as Mjolnir, is a powerful and iconic weapon, but it does not possess the ability to bring the dead back to life. The hammer was used in formal ceremonies to bless marriages, births, and funerals. In one episode from the prose Edda, Thor once killed and ate his goats, then brought them back to life by hallowing their bones with his hammer. And since Kratos is the goat, surely Thor can bring Kratos back to life with his hammer as well. No. Thor bringing back his goats from the dead has nothing to do with Mjolnir, the idea that one ought to keep the bones of a dead animal intact, and bury said animal as if it were a human while putting the bones as they were placed in the living body of the animal can be found in other cultures. The story of the goats had more to do with some very old animal worship than specifically with Thor or his hammer. Besides, in the case of Thor and his goats, Thor uses the hammer to bless the bones of the animals, not to accomplish the actual resurrection. So, to claim that Thor's hammer has the capability to resurrect others is false. And so, if Kratos was really dead in this scene, Thor's hammer couldn't have brought him back to life. So what's the verdict? There are two likely scenarios here. Either Kratos was knocked out but alive and the shock woke him up, or he was on the brink of death and the shock saved him. Or is that the verdict? We have established that Kratos couldn't have died from brain damage or bleeding, because if so, then the shock from Thor's hammer would have made things worse instead of reviving him. And Kratos couldn't have died from oxygen deprivation, since there wasn't enough time for the lack of oxygen to take a toll on him. But instead of thinking about whether Kratos has died in that time frame, between when he was knocked out and brought back to his feet, what if we consider the fact that he was dying instead of being dead? Long story short, Kratos didn't die, nor was he dying. Why? Sure, we see Kratos' health bar deplete completely when he is struck by Thor, but this wouldn't be the first time we see Kratos' health be drained entirely and him surviving it. We see the same exact thing happen in God of War 3, when Zeus strips him of his powers, and guess what? Kratos doesn't die. But here's what sold it for me. The undeniable evidence that suggests Kratos was knocked out and not killed. We hear Thor's voice from the loading screen. And every other in-game death, when we fade into the loading screen, we hear nothing. The fact that we hear Thor's voice was a deliberate move from Santa Monica Studios and proof that Kratos did not die. Kratos survived a stab and a gaping hole caused by the blade of Olympus, a god-killing weapon. You think a little tap on Kratos' head by a hammer will kill him? No. The overwhelming evidence covered in this video points to the fact that Kratos was knocked out by Thor and not killed. Besides, Thor was specifically instructed by Odin not to kill Kratos, as suggested by this clip.
I am done with you and your son. No more fucking games. And this time, I'm allowed to kill you.
Thor is not dumb. He knows what kind of blow kills and what blows put you to sleep. Thor did not accidentally kill Kratos. He was testing him, and in the process, put Kratos to sleep to push his limits. But hey, that's just my take on it. What do you think? Let's keep this discussion going in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay updated with more God of War content like this. Oh, and if you want to dive even deeper into the world of God of War, consider joining our channel as a member with demigod status. You'll gain access to the exclusive Gods of War Council, where we can chat about your theories, ideas, and more. Until next time, see ya.
Fuck are you waiting for?
Your daughter. My son calls her friend.